King and the Talking Tree. Once upon a time, in a magnificent kingdom filled with lush valleys and crystal-clear rivers, there was a ruler named King Arthur, known for his love of nature. Rather than hosting lavish banquets in his palace, King Arthur preferred walking among the trees, listening to the birds' songs, and embracing the silent magic of the natural world. Each morning, he stepped onto the path from the palace gardens into the forest, enjoying the cheerful notes of birdsong as he strolled peacefully. One day, King Arthur went on a long walk into the heart of the forest. The towering trees before him stretched toward the sky, and shafts of sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating flickering patterns on the ground. He took a deep breath and smiled at the squirrels darting across the branches. Just then, he came upon a huge oak tree standing more majestically than the others. As King Arthur was about to rest in its shade, he heard a voice he had never encountered before. "Our leaves have dried up, our roots are parched," came the mournful sound. King Arthur looked around but saw no one. Intrigued, he rose to follow the voice and discovered it came from the old oak itself. You can speak?" he asked in astonishment. The oak gently swayed its branches. "Yes, I and the other trees of the forest can speak, but only those whose hearts are open to nature can hear us," it replied. King Arthur felt both surprised and thrilled. According to the tree, in certain parts of the kingdom, people were cutting down forests without care, diverting rivers, and polluting the soil with piles of trash. Because of this, the forest dwellers were gradually losing their water sources, leaving animals and plants in a desperate situation. Hearing these words, the king's heart grew heavy. Although he had always believed in protecting nature, he had not realized how severe the danger truly was. The oak tree gently swayed its branches and continued, "You are not the only one who can hear us, of course. But most people are so caught up in their own ambitions that they choose to ignore what's happening. If no one takes action, this forest and all the creatures living here will be greatly harmed." King Arthur nodded sadly. "What must I do?" he asked. "Raise awareness among your people," the oak replied. "Remind them that nature is the foundation of our lives. It can only be saved if we stand united." After leaving the forest, King Arthur returned straight to his palace. In the palace courtyard, he gathered his chief advisor and the other nobles. "Our people are using the land recklessly," the king said with a serious expression. "Because the rivers have been diverted, the forests aren't getting enough water, and the trees are on the brink of drying out. Also, unnecessary deforestation and piles of trash have left many animals without homes." The chief advisor was surprised by these words, but saw from King Arthur's determined gaze that the matter was urgent. That very day, the king issued a major proclamation. People from all towns and villages in the kingdom gathered in the palace square. Stepping onto a tall platform, King Arthur addressed the crowd. "My dear people, our forests have turned away from us. Our trees are thirsty, our soil is weary, and our waters grow more polluted every day. This is a problem for all of us. If we continue to harm nature, we will destroy ourselves as well. We must act at once." The crowd was initially taken aback, But as they heard the king's heartfelt words, they began to think eagerly about what could be done. The king proposed concrete solutions: a tree planting campaign, reorganizing water channels, sorting trash for recycling, and banning any new logging in the forests. In addition, he announced that nature classes would be introduced for children. He wanted to nurture generations who truly cared for and protected the environment from an early age. At that moment, a group of children shouted, "We want to plant saplings too." The king smiled and said, "Wonderful. You are the future of this kingdom." Meanwhile, some landowners and merchants in the kingdom were unwilling to give up the profits they made from the forest. The chief advisor informed the king about their concerns. King Arthur calmly said, "I will speak with them." He invited these landowners and merchants to the palace, explaining that safeguarding the forest would benefit everyone in the long run. "If the forest disappears, our agriculture, livestock, and even trade routes will suffer," he said. After lengthy discussions, the merchants were convinced because they realized that without nature, their profits could not last. As the days passed, a great transformation began throughout the kingdom. In areas where the trees had dwindled, tree planting events were organized. Children joyfully dug the soil to plant young saplings, watering them eagerly. The people started sorting their trash, and recycling workshops were set up in the villages. The direction of rivers was realigned so that water channels could flow into the forest once more. Gradually, the dried-out land began to revive. Birds grew more numerous again, and nests abandoned for months were once more filled with lively chirping. Sometime later, King Arthur returned to the forest. When he reached the old oak tree, its branches rustled in greeting. Smiling, the king said, "My friend, thanks to everyone in the kingdom, our land is thriving again. But this is only the beginning." The oak answered, "You kept your promise, King Arthur. You set an example so that your people would learn to protect nature. Remind them that humankind can only preserve itself by caring for the environment." King Arthur nodded in agreement at the tree's words. Soon, the kingdom surpassed even its former beauty. The rivers flowed crystal clear, the forests grew denser, and animals went about their lives happily. With the expansion of the woodlands, rain became more abundant, and the air was cleaner. United under the motto, "If we work together, anything is possible," the people joined forces whenever needed, yet they also recognized their individual responsibilities. The kingdom had become a symbol of love for nature and solidarity. At every opportunity, King Arthur said, "Those who listen to nature's voice save their own future," offering hope to the trees, plants, animals, and people. Sometimes he would wander into the forest to rest under the old oak's shade. At other times, he visited villages to see newly planted saplings. In this way, with his peaceful, positive, and forward-looking approach, he always led the kingdom one step further.